I forgot to mention something that I want to be sure to refer to. Prior to actually leaving the military, while we were still down at Fort Benning, we talked about where to attend college. And we had nothing, I had nothing at all against the various colleges in Kansas, certainly. But I thought it'd be kind of neat to go back to the ENID area. I don't know why, but he'd been home earlier. And my grandparents lived in ENID, Grandparent Riggs. By then I'd lost my grandparents Harmon. They weren't there anymore. But I was a little leery of that, as I had kind of seen my grandfather as a tyrant, as an old country kind of patriarch. And the reason for that was that had to do with Dad's younger brothers. I never at any time felt that Dad felt Grandpa was bossy of him. I'm sure they talked. I'm sure my dad had great respect for his father. I know he did. But certainly this feeling had nothing to do with what I saw between my father and his father. But when our home burnt down there in Kansas, it appeared to me that Grandpa ordered Dad's two younger brothers to come home and help build Dad's house. Of course, it was Grandpa's house. It was his farm. He owned the farm. We were renters. Donna says we're sharecroppers because it was a kind of rent deal where your rent was a share of the income that you got from the crops and so on as you farmed the land. So I wanted to go to Phillips University because I'd heard good things about it, yeah, but most of all because it was a home-based thing. And it was close enough to my folks there in the Conway Springs, Milton area, and to Donna's folks, who in the meantime, while we were in the service, had moved over to Douglas, Kansas. So I wrote this letter to my grandpa and grandma saying that we were thinking about coming to ENID to live, and we wanted to enjoy them, and we wanted them to enjoy us, and we assumed they would want to enjoy, and they loved kids, the baby we were going to have, but that they weren't to tell us what we could do, should do, wouldn't do, and so on. So I'd written the letter and had it all ready to send and said, Donna, maybe you ought to read this. She read it. She says, you're not going to mail that. You'll hurt feelings and it'll cause trouble. I said, I am going to mail it, and I did, and it didn't cause trouble. Now, I'm not going to say that maybe Grandpa wasn't a little bit hurt about it, but if he was, I never heard about it. And we were always treated just the way you'd expect to be treated by loving grandparents, not only as the grandson, as the grandson's wife, and then as their great-grandchild Roy came into our lives. You can't always tell what's going on. There's a lot of difference in the caliber of man that my dad was and the caliber of men that his two younger brothers were. Go figure. I don't know all the details, never will. I do know that at one time, in talking to my older brother Marvin said that he wants to ask his dad, how come you're so different than your brothers? And he says Dad said to him, well, my father raised me, which would seem to indicate that maybe Dad thought that his mother spoiled the two younger ones, and Dad hadn't allowed his mother to spoil him. Maybe yes, maybe no, who knows. Sure did love my grandparents, particularly that grandma. She did love me and did so many good things for me. I expect the truth was Grandpa loved me just as much, but wasn't as outward about it.